Is it permissible for women to visit the graveyards? So this is one of those issues where you have difference of opinion amongst the madhahib, and all of them have their evidences because they're seemingly conflicting evidences. One of them is that the Prophet ﷺ, he cursed an-na'ihat, women that do niyaha, which were women that would follow the funeral procession, and they would mourn loudly, and they would slap their faces and slap dirt on themselves as a means of expressing their grief and their wailing. And it was actually something that was done as part of ceremony when a person would pass away. But then you have someone like Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha. Aisha radiallahu anha, she used to go and visit the graveyard. She prayed the janazah of her brother Abdurrahman. She went to visit him. And her explanation of that, when she was confronted with this hadith by some of the companions or some of the tabi'een, she said that the Prophet ﷺ used to forbid everyone from visiting the graves except for the burial. When the Prophet ﷺ said, "Inni nahaytukum an ziyarat al-qubur," I used to forbid you from visiting the graveyard. That was for actually the bulk of Islam, because the Prophet ﷺ did not want the people to engage in certain practices at the gravesite. So they would pray the janazah, and then they would bury the person and move on. And there was no visiting the grave as a ritual for people in general. But the Prophet ﷺ then opened it up, and he said that it reminds you of death, so that you should visit because it reminds you of death and it softens the heart and prioritizes the hereafter for you. So Aisha radiallahu anha said that the Prophet ﷺ, his prohibition before was for everybody, and when the Prophet ﷺ gave permission, it also was for everybody. Now, how do we balance out these things? Well, niyaha, which is wailing and mourning, was forbidden for both men and women. And for women, when they go to the graveyard, obviously they should not engage in niyaha. They should not do those things that the Prophet ﷺ forbade, just like the men should not do those things. And it seems from the evidence, as long as a person avoids those things or avoids the things that are prohibited that accompany some of those things that the Prophet ﷺ mentioned, then inshallah ta'ala it's permissible, and it could even be rewardable. And a person should follow that example, bidnillahi ta'ala, not just of the hukum, not just of the ruling, but of the way that these people carried themselves when they would go to al-qubur, when they would go to the grave sites. The last piece of evidence is when the Prophet ﷺ saw a woman that was mourning at the grave, and the Prophet ﷺ told her to be patient, and she responded in a very rough manner to the Prophet ﷺ, saying, "What do you know of my situation?" And the Prophet ﷺ, moved on from her. And someone informed her that she had said that to the Prophet ﷺ. And she didn't realize that she was speaking to the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Prophet ﷺ mentioned whenever she came to him to apologize that as-sabr 'inda sadmat al-ula, that patience is at the first strike. The point is that at no point did the Prophet ﷺ reprimand her for actually being there. But the Prophet ﷺ saw her in a state of niyaha, in a state of wailing, which is impermissible. Crying is permissible, it's what the Sahaba would do, but again, that idea of mourning and wailing was what was made prohibited in the situation for both men and women. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. Subscribe to this channel, share this video, and click on the bell icon so that you can be notified with every new video at Faith IQ. Jazakumullahu khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.